Harihi Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramanandamadhavam. Om. शिष्य आत्मसमर्पण कार्पण्य दोषो उपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्म सम्मूढचेताः यश्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्. Om. So we are in the second shloka of Upadesha, which is the 12th shloka in the second chapter. The shloka goes like this. Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha nachaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatah param. So we had seen basically Bhagavan, after telling him that it is for something which is not worthy of lamenting, you are lamenting. And then he comes to this shloka in which he clarifies the first aspect of what we can call the Atmagyan. The Atmagyan brings the clarity in us that the I is ever existing. The Atma, the soul, is ever existing. It is not like it has taken a birth and it dies. It is beyond the birth and the death. And he says it is not only for me, it is also for you as well as all the kings who are assembled that you are seeing. So that is a poetic way or a way in which one can communicate it effectively for the listener. After having understood the meaning, we were doing some analysis in which we went into what is called the philosophies. There are various philosophies that are prevalent in India, and we will take a look at some of them here. Sankhya, which is the name of this chapter as well, is defined in two ways. One as a philosophy, but it is also having a direct meaning, right? Samyakyayate, right? So taking that, we had looked at what is Sankhya. Here we are going to speak about the darshanas, the philosophies. The first one is Sankhya. Here, the importance is given from a very scientific approach. The way the liberation is prescribed or is is given as a means is through jnanam, which is knowledge, and vairagyam, discrimination. Not getting carried away into various desires that kind of gives birth in your heart. So that discrimination and the knowledge about the properties of the soul is the means that Sankhya basically prescribes. The second one among the darshanas is Nyayam. It is also used as Tarka Shastra, but this uses the rational analysis. It will very logically determine the nature of Atma. In fact, several of our darshana, as well as any other darshana that you take off, has taken the Nyaya as a means for communicating the non-Vedic approach as well. So, what is the difference? In a Vedic approach, what or the term Vedic is used with astika, right? Which is those who believe in the definitions of Veda. The term belief is also a very hard one. Those who take Veda as a praman. So now what is a praman? Praman is a means of acquiring knowledge. It is such a means that there is no other means which can establish it. Or if you have acquired knowledge through some other means, this praman can override what you have heard of. If I put it into simple example, you will understand. Let us say eyes can see colors, right? So this is a known fact. So the praman for identifying colors is eyes. But you don't have to necessarily see, you can even hear about it. I am telling you that this mouse is black in color. Then what you do? You have heard about it, you have not seen the mouse, yet you have acquired the knowledge that this mouse is black in color. But you come and you see it yourself when your eyes are seeing and they are determining that it is not black, it is actually a very dark blue, then your definition of this gyan changes. What you heard about this changes because eyes are considered to be the main praman for the determination of the colors. Right. So it is not others cannot provide the knowledge, but this will have the superiority over the determination of the right knowledge beyond anything else. So when I say Veda is a praman, now in Veda, they are talking about Swargaloka. Assuming there was some kind of, a rocket or some kind of a Voyager that will take you to Swargaloka, then Veda will not be the praman for Swargaloka, for the heaven, because there is a pratyaksha anubhavam. There is a direct, there is a direct experience of Swargaloka, and hence Veda will no longer be the main praman for the determination of Swarga. Veda can still speak about Swargaloka, but that doesn't make Veda the praman for Swargaloka. Now, Atma Gyan, the true nature about the Atma, is given in Veda. So Veda is a praman for that. There is no other mechanism which can refute or provide an alternate way of looking at it. Right? It means it cannot come and say, no, this one is wrong, this one is correct, and so on. Hence, the Atma Gyan, for Atma Gyan, we can say Veda is the praman, is the principal mechanism. But another person can come and say that I don't trust in Veda. If a person comes and says that I don't trust in Veda, obviously, to him, I cannot go and say, oh, Atma Gyan is determined to be this, Sad, Chit, Anantam. So it is Satchidananta Swarupam is Atma. You will say, I don't even believe in Veda. What is the point in you telling me Veda is giving this praman? Right? When such a situation arises, we need an ability to logically conclude, where you and I both are logically driven. So we can give various tarka and establish why this is so. And hence, tarka plays a very important role in terms of communication. If you and I both agree that Veda is a Praman and Atma Swarupam has been defined in Veda to be this, then Veda is saying it. You don't have to even discuss. It is a Praman which has given you. Right? So the Nyayam becomes not necessary, the Tarkam becomes not necessary, but it is very essential when you are dealing with people who do not have the knowledge of Veda or those who disagree to what Veda has said. And hence, the aspect of Tarka or Nyaya as a philosophy plays a higher importance than as a standalone philosophy itself, used by all. The third one is Yogam. Yogam, as we all know, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, right? So in this yoga, right, the approach given for elevating yourself is through Anushasan and Abhyasam. What is Anushasan? Discipline. Abhyasam, practice, exercise. So in Patanjali's yoga, there is a lot of things that we have. Ashtanga yoga is what we say, that Yama itself has 5, Niyama has 5. So we can add another 8 to it, right? So 8 plus 8, 16, it becomes totally whatever is being spoken there, right? The approach it gives is through dhyanam, pranayama, regulating your breathing, yama, niyama, etc. Right? Then the fourth philosophy is called as Vaiseshika. Vaiseshikam. Here they take the Anu Vadam, right? Not Anuvadam, Anu as in atom, and Vadam is based on that, right? Jainism can be seen as one of the offshoots of Vaiseshikam. Even they go into that Anu as one of the core, one of the basic components. Right? It is not the atom as defined by the modern science. It is the smallest of the element. Tomorrow, if in case they come back with something smaller than atom, right, like they have come up with electrons, protons, and neutrons, right, and they say that no, electrons is not a particle but a cloud, a dust, which means it has got even more further particles. The smallest of that unit is Anu. That Anu is the base from which everything goes, is the way that they define it. That is what is Vaiseshika. The next one is Purva Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa follows the rituals as prescribed in the Veda. Right? So if there are so many yajnas, you perform those yajnas. If there are nitya karma, naimittika karma, right? All of them, prayaschitta karma, you continue to do that. Right? And by adopting the dharma as prescribed by Veda, one attains the salvation. So that is the Purva Mimamsa. The last one is Vedanta. Vedanta also takes Veda as the base, but they look at the end, Vedam plus Antam, right? The end of Veda, which is also called Upanishads. So the Upanishads are taken as the Praman, and knowledge is prescribed as the most important element. Right? And this is done in 3 different ways. Advaita, which says that it is a non-dualistic approach. It is not singular approach. It is non-dualistic approach, right? So that is Advaita, where it categorizes the Atma to be one unchanging, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient aspect, which is the Sad, Chit, and Anantam, and 2, the Prakriti, which the Advaita calls as Maya, and defines the Maya to be that which does not have a stability and which has a dependent existence on the Atma. So that is what is Advaita Darshanam. Vishishta Dvaita Darshanam also sees it. Instead of looking at the Prakriti, the Jivan, etc., as a Maya Amsam or as an illusionary concept, Vishishta Dvaita creates an Angi-Angam relationship, which means Angi is the one who possesses the limbs, Angam are the limbs. So the relationship between the Atma and the Anatma is defined through this relationship called as parts of the body and the body, the branch and the tree. So that kind of approach Vishishtadvaita takes. The third one is Dvaita. Right? The Dvaita is given the third one because they very clearly say that the Jivatma is separate and the Paramatma is separate. The purpose, the Jivatma is created by the Paramatma, and the purpose of the Jivatma is to serve the Paramatma. Right? And again, in the Vedic definitions, there are various areas where Dvaita seems to be so much relevant, right? So much directly clearly being communicated. This shloka, for example, Natvevaham natu eva aham jatu nasam natu natvam na tvam na ime janadipaha. So everyone is separately identified. And so they can make it as an argument to say that, see, even Bhagavan Krishna is saying it is Dvaita, it is dualistic. So they take the dualistic approach, and hence bhakti and servitude towards the Lord becomes the most important concept within the Dvaita. As it goes in our tradition, in which we take it purely from Advaita, but for explanation purposes or for clarification purposes, we repeatedly emphasize that Advaita, Visishta Dvaita, as well as Dvaita, or for that matter, any of the darshanas, their objective is to guide you to only 50% of the path. If you take Dvaita, it doesn't mean you are bound by Dvaita. Dvaita will take you 50% towards the salvation, towards the moksha. The rest of the path has to be traversed by you yourself. You will see that as you traverse beyond what Advaita, Vishishta Dvaita, or Dvaita has said, you can very easily look back and tell people who are fighting between Advaita, Vishishta Dvaita, and Dvaita as, yes, I understand your fight. Then that one is much easier. This is even more difficult. You will come to that realization. It is that beautiful a vision that you get. Right? So none of them are wrong. All of them will take you only to 50%. After that, when you look back, all of them give so much of help or has offered so much of help that it allows you to explore the path. And you will take Sankhya for some times, Nyayam for some times, Dvaita for some time, and you will practice it or you will pursue it in such a way that your moksha you will determine. And when you do attain the position of, or when you do elevate yourself, removing all these ignorances, you will see that it cannot be communicated anymore. It cannot be communicated better than how Veda has communicated. And there are several ways that Veda has communicated, not one. Negation, for example, neti, or a direct communication, aham brahmasmi, tattvamasi, right? So these are all direct ones. And even if in case you go into Chandogya Upanishad, in which the tattvamasi comes, you will see there are three main ways the approach is taken. The first one is where father is teaching the son, Shwetaketu, right? Saying that, hey, this is Tatu Twamasi. Then he asks, how is this? And he clarifies, how is this? And he clarifies. Like that, there'll be a lot of question and answers. And you will see that the same thing happens with the next one, where Narad is talking to, what is his name? One of the Brahma's Manasika Putras, Sanat Kumara. Right, so he speaks to Sanat Kumara, right? And then the third one is the one, I think another story will come. I forgot which one. It is like where they go to both the Asuras and the Suras, they go to learn about this Gyan. And after serving the Guru for 32 years, first time, right, Guru gives the Upadesh. This Asura totally mistakes what has been told and he goes away. And he will make a remark, hey, you put so much of effort and you're just going away with wrong understanding. Right. But the, what do you say, the Suras, they come back, right? And they will ask, hey, how is it that this is correct? And then he says, you have to serve another 32 years. Like that it go. It'll be very beautiful, actually. It's a nice way of putting it. Right? So you will see that there are multiple ways that Veda has tried to communicate. And you will realize the importance of doing it in such multiple ways. And still holding their position in the Veda. That can happen only after you cross the 50% mark. That in an Advaitic tradition, I may be passing it on to you, or in other traditions, some other person may be passing it on to you. But it is very important to cross that 50% mark. Now, these are not seen as darshanas, but they are seen as different ways of life that we refer to as Hinduism. So in other words, if somebody says, I am a Shivite, it is not a philosophy. It is not a thing that is going to elevate you into the moksha marga. It is the way of life we practice. So there will be people who will come back and say Shaivism is as much a philosophy. We'll say, okay. But in our tradition, we do not see it as a philosophy. We do not see it as a darshana. Instead, we see it as an important element of a way of life which defines our one of the purposes, kshetra paripalana. That kshetra paripalana is, a help is offered for you to do the kshetra paripalana in the right way. Right. So we do, it's not like we are seeing it down or something of that sort. In the path of moksha, in the path of liberation, these are not seen as a darshana by our tradition. That is what I'm trying to communicate here. It doesn't mean it is not, because if somebody says it is, then it is, because he is seeing that, or she is seeing that value in it. They are able to come to that 50% mark, or maybe 48% of mark with 2% jumping with something else. I have no clue, right? But traditionally, we say these are all not seen as philosophies. What are they? Shaivism, Vaishnavism, Shaktam. Shaktam is where Shakti, right? It is more towards the goddess being, worshipped or being given the most importance, right? Best example is Abhirami Andadi, right? That is a poet who would have written, and that is all considered to be as part of the Shaktam. smarthas, who take the smriti as the basis, right? Smarthas. Tantric. Tantric are people who perform various, rituals, right? They will create some fire rituals and all those things, right? So they are considered to be tantrics. There are some tantrics who even perform it on the dead bodies and stuff like that. Aghoras. They are again one set of people who have given up everything and they are free from anything that binds them. Right? So that is the practice that they do, aghoras. Nagas, those who worship the snakes, and so on. There are, people, you are all from the Indian subcontinents and or at least having the roots there. You know how many varieties of the way of life that this Bharata Varsha or this Bharata Desa carries. And they are not seen as a darshana by us, but they hold an important value in terms of pursuing a way of life. Moving on. Okay, traditional approach. Now, what are the steps to achieve this moksha or liberation? In the Vedantic tradition, especially within the Advaita, but it is applicable to even others, right? Even Dvaitam and Vishishta Dvaitam and others, they definitely speak about it, which is called as sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. Sampatti is the wealth that you acquire. The four chatushtaya sadhana is by voluntarily practicing it. The thing that you acquire are vivekam. Vivekam is the ability for one to logically analyze and understand things. Vivekam. Vairagyam. Vairagyam is discrimination, saying that I'm not going to get carried away, right? I know that I have a class to attend right now or class to take right now. And I know there is a beautiful movie going on. That movie doesn't disturb me at all. It is this which is the focus, not being driven away from your focus because of that which does not align to your purpose. This is what is Vairagya. Now you can put it in any aspect. Health is my, objective, right? So eating too spicy and lot of uncontrolled eating is not a means for me. If I'm a foodie and I say that my objective is to be X, then maybe I do not have vairagya. It is not going to contribute to my objective. So here we define what the objective is, and that which pushes us forward, that which helps us pursue our path in the path of our objective is vairagyam, discrimination towards anything else. Then comes shad sampatti. These are 6 qualities, right? They are shamam, damam, uparati, titiksha, shraddha, and samadhanam. Right? Now, how can you attain this vivekam and vairagyam? In itself is through this shat sampatti only. Shamam is the control of your mind. Right? Damam is the damam is the control on your organs. Right? So, for example, my eyes are moving anywhere it likes. Right? I keep on shaking my legs. They are not aspects of control. I'm not saying don't do it. That is not Vedantic class at all. Whether it is right or wrong, that is you who determine it. The Vedantic class is to help you improve your vivekam and not to tell you this is to be done, this is not to be done. Right? Uparati is following that particular path, right? Titiksha is, we will talk about Uparati in depth. That is why I'm just trying to skim through. Titiksha is perseverance, right? You're not going to get the results immediately. It will take time. Shraddha is a conviction in you that what the effort that you are putting is going to take you to the objective that you have got. Samadhanam, in terms of conflict resolutions within you. We will again talk about it in depth later. So I'm just going through a little fast in this. Mumukshutvam is the deep desire that one has towards this objective. Let us forget about Atma Gyan, Moksha, etc. Even if in case your objective is to learn Bhagavad Gita with no uncertainties, then this mumukshutvam is very important. Having the commitment to learn is very important. And yet again, we are looking at it from an objective point of view. Traditions speak about mumukshutvam to be a burning desire to attain this moksha. Right? We, in our traditions, we do not say it that way because moksha is not attainment of something. Right? If in case I have to attain, then yes, that it becomes an objective. Mumukshutvam cannot be towards attaining a moksha, because attaining the moksha is something that you have acquired, and anything that you have acquired, you will lose. Think in terms of the great health that you have. Right? My best example is my father. Right? People who know him, they know that he used to walk. Right? I used to live up in the hill, and he used to walk all the way down and climb up. He was more fit than I, by any, measure you take. But then slowly he collapsed. Right? He was at a point where, everything had to be done to him in his last days. Right? So if you acquire something, it will definitely go. And we, in our tradition, say that moksha, the liberation, is not something that you acquire. And hence, we do not say that mukshutvam is a burning desire to achieve moksha. Right? The burning desire to enlighten yourself. That is what we emphasize. In the yoga philosophy, we have yamam, niyamam, asanam, pranayamam, pratyaharam, dharana, and dhyanam. Again, we'll be speaking about each of them in the 6th chapter when we go into dhyana yoga. Right? But these are some of the steps that each of the philosophies provide. The other traditions too use different steps. These steps are called as kramam, right? The step by step, or the logical steps that you need to follow till you reach. In our tradition, we say that 50% mark. However, in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan directly jumps into Atma Gyan, right? And Bhagavan will speak to the kramam throughout Bhagavad Gita. He will talk about karma yoga, karma sannyasam, dhyanam, bhakti yogam, right? Gunatraya vibhagam, shraddhatraya vibhagam, deivasurim sampat, sannyasam, etc. He will talk about all of those kramam, but not in a step-by-step way. You will see that the karma yoga aspects will be coming in the 18th chapter as well. And the Jnana Yoga is coming right now. This Atma Jnana is Jnana Yoga, part of Jnana Yoga. Bhakti will be spoken about in several places. Right? So we are talking in terms of, the core may be seen as flowing, but the Upadesh will be at a little bit random. In our tradition, we don't say it is the random way. We say that for people like us who have lot of rajasic influence, right? Today, I'm going to office, trying to earn more money, getting more promotions, etc., etc. They are all the influences of rajasic gun. Right? So for people like us with a lot of Rajasic gun, this way of communication is the most appropriate one. And hence, Bhagavan has chosen to communicate what is traditionally taught in a kramam, in step-by-step way, as a knowledge that is directly put into your mind. And hence, Bhagavad Gita holds such a high position in Vedanta. Moving on, develop intelligent learning. Now, this is again something very important to us in our tradition. And for lack of better words, I'm going to say for students like you. Right? We do not see a student teacher kind of a thing, but we do hold a very high regard for the Guru Parampara. No doubts about it. Right? The Guru and Sishya is seen as Guru and Sishya. Right? The Taratamyam, we try to remove it, and hence we do not make it like that. Right? So, first thing is try to classify what you are learning into the following. Say today I'm teaching you a class, or tomorrow when we get into a class, keep it in mind that these are the 4 things that we are going to be teaching. Right? When you are able to classify it, you are able to get questions. You are able to progress in your mind when you are able to classify it. That is why Vivekaha comes first. The buddhi has the natural tendency to dissect things. And try to dissect this teaching and try to put yourself, ask the question, hey, this is being spoken. Is he talking about X or A, B, C, or D? Right? And what are the 4 things that I am suggesting? You can have 6, you can have 10, no problem. But I'm just making a suggestion. First one is Jnana Prapti Phalam or Gyaani Lakshanam. Right? The second one is called as Jnanam, knowledge. Okay? First one is, if I have this knowledge, what is the benefit? That is what is the Jnana Prapti Phalam or Jnani Lakshanam. Jnani is the one who has the knowledge. What is the lakshan of that jnani? Right? This is the first one. The second one is the knowledge. Right? What is the we are talking about? We are going to define things. So what is that jnana? The third one is Gyaana Sadhana hetuhu. Right? That which helps you in the process of acquiring the knowledge. Right? The fourth one is called as Yogyata or Purva Kriya. That which will enable you to learn. Right? The best example is I have to have studied the first standard to be able to go to the PhD. Right? And I would have had to learn the ABCD. That first standard being passed, passing that first standard is the Purva Kriya or the minimum Yogyata. For me to do PhD, I have to have completed maybe the master's or whatever that is required. Right? So getting into that Yogyata is the other thing. So when we are talking, when we are taking a class, address it in your mind. Hey, which thing that this falls under? The example that I have written here as I see is the process of eating. Right? If I have to eat, first thing is I should buy the food, whatever it is, the vegetable, the rice, etc. That is the Purva Kriya or getting the Yogyata. The next thing is preparation of the food. I have to cook the food, right? So cut the vegetables and cook the food and so on. Once the food is cooked and I put it on the table, the third thing is eating. The last one is the full of eating is the hunger is gone, right? Look at it from that point of view, right? So what are the 4 steps that I have used here? And remember, as I said, you can put 7 steps also. absolutely fine. There are no right or wrong classification, right? In fact, to debate which classification a concept might fall under is part of letting Gita seep into you, right? So that is the most important thing. Unless we start Parikshalokan, Karmachitan, Brahmano, Nirvedamaya, right? Tat Vijnanartham sa Gurum eva adivichet, Samitpanihi, Shrotriyan, Brahmanishtam, right? Mundakopanishad, it comes. Very beautiful thing. You need to think of it. That pariksha is very, very important. So this, at this point, because we are going to dive deep into core philosophies, I'm trying to do this preparation, right? So see if you can take this as a concept and do the analysis as we are going through the class. An important thing I would say personally is it is not necessary only for Bhagavad Gita. Even if in case you are going to learn, let us say Python, when you do it, have that ability to dissect and learn, and you will see how fast you learn. Right? So developing that ability to dissect while the class is going on in itself will be a beautiful phalam that you get when we start discussing more and more. Okay, I don't know why I wrote this. The reason why I have given hunger is gone, etc., is because of the famous fourth chapter shloka, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam. Right? I don't know. At that time, I was thinking of it, or I was just having my food and coming back when I was preparing the slide. So this is the thought that came to my mind. Okay. Atma Anatma Vivekaha. I remains the most referenced object in conversation. You and I know it. When I say I always have two concepts, two amsam in it. One is the conscious entity, something which has an awareness. For example, this mic, this book, this mouse, they do not have that conscious awareness that I exist. For that matter, we even go into the animal world where the animal doesn't fully put as I exist. That is the reason you put a mirror in front of the animal, they will try to bark at it, or they will try to go and attack it, or they will go behind to see who is there. Right? They will do everything, but they will not be able to identify that the object that the animal is seeing in the mirror is itself. Right? So that conscious entity is kind of unique to us, the humans. Right? So we are talking about that conscious entity which can identify I as I. The second is the body. Now, in this body, we can naturally see the confusions that we have. Sometimes I say I am writing. Sometimes I say my hand is aching. The I has suddenly become my hand. It has objectified the hand separately from it, whereas in some places it is subjectifying it. So this is the basic reason, what we call as the source of confusion or source of ajnana. Right? So when you put this rational analysis, we are able to see that there is a conscious entity as well as there is a inert entity that I associate myself with at my convenience. Right? This is clarified by the Shastra as when the conscious principle spreads itself into the otherwise unconscious or otherwise inert body, the body appears to have consciousness. Remember, it is not limited to this physical body alone. It can be spreading across to a team. It can spread across to a nation, right? So, like Mahatma Gandhi, for him, it was his nation, which was all him. He was able to take that much of close association. People who have been in service, they know that Pushpak Squadron and Ajit Squadron are the same friends who are there today in our 1 of 86 chat group. But when we were there in Sambra, we were able to see it as different. And we were proud of Pushpak Squadron, and they were equally proud of Ajit Squadron. That pride comes by I getting extended into that particular team. The I that we refer to is often intermixed. Here, the example given in Upanishad is the state of deep sleep. Right? In deep sleep, the Turiya Avastha, the I, is totally different from the body. Sometimes people sleep so deep that even when they are shaken, they are not going to wake up. And suddenly they will wake up. Right? So the I is different from the body. To establish this, the Upanishads have used the deep sleep as a mechanism as well. So that is the fundamental thing that we need to understand, that there is I and there is this body. Moving on. For this, there are several terms that we will be using. They are the same. Okay. And in fact, he will go in 18th chapter. Arjuna will ask, you have been using tyagam, sannyasam, etc., but I'm very confused. Are they the same? Are they different? Kind of a question he will ask. In order to address it, I'm just telling you that these are the terms. Shariram, shariri. Body, the holder of the body. Deham, body. Dehi, the holder of the body. Anatma, atma. Achetanam, chaitanyam. These are the terms that will be used. And be clear that we are talking of the same thing. To the right is the I, and to the left is the Maya, Prakriti, the body, whatever you talk about. Similarly, when we talk about Shariram, when we talk about this body, Shariram, Deham, Manatma, Chetanam, etc., we are talking of three things. One is Sthulam, also called as Avasthatrayam, actually. Sthula Avastha, which is the physical body, that which has physical properties. It can be cell. If you can see it inside the microscope, then it is a body. It is a sthula body. Right? So it is not just because stomach is inside your this thing, it is sukshma. No. If you can cut it, dissect it or something, and you can physically point it out, that becomes sthulam. That is the gross. The next is sukshmam, or the subtle. For example, I am a strong fellow, or I am a very weak fellow. Right? Can you determine it based on the body? You cannot. Right? So you will have to measure the ability and say that he's a strong person. There may be a puny person who comes and picks up 100-kilo rice bag and just puts it on his bag and he walks. And there will be a bodybuilder, right? And he will find it difficult to even lift it off the ground, right? Because it is not in a comfortable position, right? You have to have the knack of able to lift it, right? He is used to lifting it with the rod. He can lift more weight than 100 kgs, yet he is not able to lift this bag of 100 kg rice. So we cannot determine. You cannot look at my eyes and say that Naresh has 20/20 vision. Right? You cannot. Right? These are capabilities, and these capabilities are called as sukshmam. They are also part of body. What are sukshmam? Indriyas, the karmendriya and jnanendriya, pranam, that we breathe in, breathe out, and which gives us the energy. Best example is if I have to lift something heavy, I hold air and lift it. That tells you what the pranam's role is in that. Right? So pranam, manam, buddhi, chittam, and ahankaram. Right? Now, here, what we say is we classify it into Sukshmam, Sukshmataram, and Sukshmatamam. That which is a little subtle, that which is higher subtle, and that which is very, very subtle. This is something that we do not use it in the class for Bhagavad Gita much, but there are other places where we speak about it. So I just included it to say that, hey, when I say Sukshmam, remember this is what it is. And we have classifications of Sukshmam, that which is ordinarily subtle. It requires a golakam, close association to the body. I don't have eyes, which means I do not have eyesight. I have eyes. I cannot say whether you have eyesight or not. Right? So this eyes in this case is called as golakam, that instrument associated with one capability. Right? So hence they are sukshmam. Sukshmataram are associated with nose and lungs, pranam. But it goes beyond. Right? There are 5 pranams that we talk about, right? Pranan, apanan, dhyanan, udanan, and samanan. Right? So each of them have beautiful explanations. We will see some of that in Bhagavad Gita class, and we have seen a lot of it in the Vishnu Sahasranama class that we concluded. Right? So there is a lot that we can learn about the prana. But because pranan is both dependent on some golakam, some kind of, the windpipe that you have got, something to go in, but once it goes in, how it spreads, we do not know. But we can see that it spreads. Right? That spread is becoming without any association. And hence it is sukshmataram, which is, it has got higher level of subtlety than the ones like eyes, nose, for smelling or tasting, tongue, etc. It is got a little higher. Then sukshmatamam is, we know its existence, but there is no body that can be associated with it. Chittam manam buddhi ahankaram. Right? So that's why they are called as antakaranam as well. That is sukshmam. Karanam is again something that we will be talking a lot about. Karana Sharir, the way that people talk about very easily is like a seed. Right? You break the seed open, there is nothing in it. But if you plant the seed, if I plant 10 seeds, 2 of them are sprouting. The other 8 are also getting destroyed the same way this one got destroyed. Okay, so if in case I put it under a soil and through some kind of mechanism, I'm able to observe what is happening to the seed, we can see that they slowly get, they become, they kind of it looks like they are decaying. All the seeds will decay. But only from some which has that life carrying capacity, it is the tree sprouts or the plant sprouts. That is what we give as an example for Karana Sharir. In other words, it is not the seed which is the Karana Sharir. It is some X inside that seed which is able to take a life form and bring itself up. It is not like I am bringing it up. It is not like, doctor is enabling the seed to come up. It is that life form which has come into that seed is able to fight and gain an existence in a physical form, and that aspect is called as Karana Sharir. Now, clarification on Sukshma Sharir Buddhi is associated with brain, but the intelligence goes well beyond. Similarly, Chittam, memory is also associated with the brain as a functional organ. Again, it is going beyond. Okay. Why is it that this is Sukshma Tamam? I have just written a small note of clarification to say that you can come back and argue, well, there is a Golakam, I say buddhi, and that buddhi is associated with the brain, right? What we say is it goes beyond. Just because this brain is there, your intelligence is not reflected, right? And your intelligence can do much, much, much more, uh, stronger things or more capable things. So why it is called Sukshmatamam, I have just written it as one of the clarifications. Time is 7:30. I know we haven't really progressed much. We are still in the 12th thing, but these preparatory notes are quite important. As we learn and when you ask questions, when we are deeper into Bhagavad Gita, I can refer to this and I can say, this is what I had meant. And the idea is not to say, oh, you missed it. The idea is to say, prepare it, and when you miss it, give a reference and it will immediately catch. You understand? So the thing is, we have that capability, that intelligence, and sometimes a pointer is all that is required for the fire to ignite. This is setting all the karpur in place so that whenever we want to ignite the fire, we can ignite it. So I hope you have enjoyed this much of deep analysis, and I'm definitely open to the question and answers here. I will conclude today's class. Well, then we will take a leave today and we will come again the next week to continue this journey together. Hari Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnad Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.